What is going on, guys? It's Dakota from Decall Photography, and in today's video we're going to be discussing some of the best 50mm options for the Sony E-mount cameras. I want to start off by saying that there was a lot of time, effort, and testing that went into making this video for you guys. And as happy as I am to do so, it would make me even more happier if you show some love to the channel and click that subscribe button so you can help me and my work grow. I greatly appreciate it. To my too long didn't read subscribers, buy the 50mm G Master lens if you have 2,000 bucks just to throw away. The Sony Zeiss f1.4 is another really great option, and the Sony Zeiss f1.8 are three lenses I can recommend right off the bat that you should buy if you have a couple extra dollars saved up for a nice piece of glass. Small disclaimer, guys, this isn't going to be an overly technical review like you may see on some other channels, but more so of a real-world experience using these lenses, right? Because I'm a portrait photographer, so a lot of my stuff, a lot of my testing is going to be mainly on subjects. Okay, human subjects, to really see if these lenses would be perfect to match up for me and for you within the field. So just a mini heads up, if you are looking for something overly technical, this probably isn't going to be the video for you. So in this video, we're going to be testing about 7 different 50mm lenses for Sony E-mount full frame. Okay, we're going to have the 50mm G Master f1.2, the Zeiss 50mm f1.4, the Sigma 50mm f1.4 art lens, the Zeiss 55mm f1.8, the Rokinon 50mm f1.4, the 50mm f1.8, the $200 option for Sony, and the 50mm f2.5, yes. So about 7 lens options that we're going to review today and kind of just talk to you guys on which might be the better option for you. So let's jump into the image quality section here. And of course, at $2,000, the 50mm G Master f1.2 is going to be your cream of the crop lens. That extra stop down at f1.2 really makes a difference in terms of just obliterating that background and creating like just a different like creamy bokeh effect when you're taking your pictures. You can see on the screen here, just pay attention to like the trees section over here next to Kia. I just love like that creamy rendering of the background. It looks really awesome, even with like the sunlight kind of blaring behind her. So the 50, I've used that for about a month or so now since recording this video. It is an amazingly sharp lens. Stopped all the way down at f1.2. This thing takes amazingly tack sharp images like I didn't miss at all when using this lens combined with my A7 III. So, and for $500 less, the 50mm Zeiss f1.4. Now this is not a bad option. A lot of photographers actually have this lens. They use it. I like this lens. It is $500 cheaper than the G Master lens. But if you need that extra stop down from f1.4 to f2, then the G Master will probably be better for you. But image quality is damn near the same, y'all. Like, they both are really top of the line lenses that you can't go wrong with either or. Now the Sigma Art f1.4 lens, now it is a really sharp lens as well in its own right. Everybody knows that the art lenses from Sigma are supposed to rival most of the other prime lenses from different companies. Like, it is really sharp, and I loved using this one. It is a tad bit bulky, but we'll go into like weight and everything a little bit later. But in terms of image quality, it's right up there with the Zeiss f1.4. I just personally believe that the G Master f1.2 is like in a league of its own. And right after the art lens, I'm gonna have to put the Zeiss 55 f1.8 because that is a phenomenally like just awesome lens for the price tag at like $1,000 or so. You get a 55mm focal length that you're able to take great pictures with. The autofocus is great with that lens, and yeah, you really can't get a better like mid-tier option than the 55 from Zeiss. Next, we're going to be talking about the Sony 50 f1.8 and the Sony 50 f2.5. Now I'm going to zoom both images in all the way on the screen here so you guys can take a look. This is an unedited photo for both, and just let me know what you think in terms of image quality. In my opinion, these both, it was a toss-up. It could go either or. The 2.5 lens is relatively new, and I know the 50 f1.8 has been out for a minute now. There's been some issues in terms of slow auto-focusing, but it gets better when you pair it with later camera bodies. But overall, guys, it was a toss-up for me for these two. So you guys let me know in the comments what you think in terms of the image quality for both of these lenses based off of the picture I showed. And lastly, we have the Rokinon 50mm f1.4. So throughout the image quality portion, I did get a bunch of images where it was hard to focus in on the subject. Gave me a lot of blurry shots, but the few shots that did turn out right were decent and pretty sharp. So nothing special in terms of the Rokinon. Throughout this video, you'll see a bunch of different reasons why I prefer not to use this Rokinon lens, and maybe I got a bad copy, but from the one I received in my lens um, rental period, it definitely didn't get the job done in terms of the rest of the test throughout the video. The next part of our video, we're going to be doing IAF, where I'm just moving the tripod kind of back and forth and seeing how fast we can snap on to the subject here. The Sony 50mm f1.2 is obviously going to be our benchmark because that is the fastest prime lens within the set of 750s I have right now. The Zeiss 50 f1.4 is not that far behind at all. Really, really quick in terms of focusing. And honestly, guys, all of them did pretty well except for the 51.8 lens. It struggled just a tiny bit, but I'd still rank that above the Rokinon 50mm f1.4. That one was just completely horrible in terms of eye autofocus. And I'm going to show these on the screen here. You guys could just take a look and see for yourself. So video autofocus, I did a couple tests where I would walk sideways in front of the camera and then walk back just to see how quickly the camera and the lens can snap onto my face, right? So if we go through the list again, the G Master lens did a phenomenal job. Didn't take long at all to snap onto my face before I walked out of frame here. The 50mm f1.4 from Zeiss, great lens. Did the exact same thing, focused immediately. I say it was a smidget slower than the G Master lens, but again, that new lens is the cream of the crop, fastest prime lens in Sony's kit today. So again, not that surprising. The art lens, it took a second. The art lens did take a second to lock onto my face. I even walked back again the other way just to make sure it wasn't some sort of anomaly, but it took a second to grab onto focus. And I was a little surprised about that. The Zeiss 55, I said the focusing on that lens is pretty good for the price range. It's a nice mid-tier lens, the Zeiss 55, and that did a really good job on focusing right on me ASAP as well. The Sony f1.8 lens, the budget option, that took it took a second. It wasn't as slow as I thought it was going to be. Very surprising. It wasn't as slow as I thought it was going to be, but it definitely locked on to me. The f2.5 50 lens did a good job on focusing. And like I mentioned, the Rokinon 50mm f1.4 is dead last again because it took forever. Sometimes it didn't even focus. I redid the Rokinon test about 5 or 6 times just to make sure like I was doing what I was supposed to do first off, and I knew what I was going to be talking about for the video. But yeah, I'm ranking that one dead last on my list as well because it did not do a good job on focusing on me. I even walked towards the camera to see if that was going to be any better, and that didn't help at all either. We're going to run through the Bokeh Test section now. So I put out a Giannis pop, Fear the Deer, y'all know the vibes. I put a Giannis pop outside in my backyard in front of some string lights that we have hanging on our fence. So I just wanted to kind of capture the bokeh in the background, and I'm just going to show some images on the screen here to let you guys see like the images or the circular shapes of the bokeh. The 50mm G Master lens probably has the most circular bokeh with the 11 aperture blades that they have included within the lens. Right after that, it is the 50 Zeiss, of course, the 50 f1.4 from Zeiss. I like to put the Zeiss 55 third, just because of how pretty the bokeh looks for that. And then right after that, I'm gonna go with the Art 50mm f1.4, and then everything else afterwards, the Rokinon, the 50 budget lens, and the f2.5 lens, they all kind of look the same. And I'll let you guys be the judge of that. I'll put them all on screen here so you can see. But I'll let you guys be the judge. But in my opinion, those last three, the Rokinon, the f1.8, and the f2.5 lens, they kind of all look similar. So there wasn't really much distinction between that for me. But yeah, of course, the G Master is going to have the prettiest looking bokeh. And then it kind of ranks from there. So at the end of the day, what lens should you buy? If you have the money and have a professional need for the Sony G Master 50mm, then go ahead and spend that $2,000 because it's not a bad investment at all. It's a phenomenal lens, and you can't go wrong when using something as spectacular like this. The Zeiss 50mm f1.4 is also a really awesome option too. Like I mentioned at the beginning of the video, there's a lot of photographers that have the Zeiss 50 and they're not switching to the G Master at all because it gets the job done. So for $500 less, you can still buy an awesome lens that puts out totally like great image quality and it gets the job done. Mid-tier lenses, again, I would put that Zeiss 55 right up there, y'all. It is such a great lens. I used this lens on multiple occasions before, especially when I was getting out of my 85mm range, just to test to see what other stuff is out there. And I was really surprised on how great the image quality produced from this lens. The Zeiss 55, I paired that with the A7S III, and that was super good, super sharp stuff too. So that Zeiss 55, y'all, for around $1,000, you can't get any better than that. If you are on a budget, I will suggest that there is nothing wrong with picking the 50mm f1.8 budget lens for $200. It is a great option. You get tack sharp images. It's $200, and it's $200. So I mean, like, it's not like you're breaking the bank on buying a lens. I have heard some good things about Rokinon lenses though, so I'm interested on for future buying guys to use the 35 or the 85mm. But the 50 just wasn't it for me, y'all. It just wasn't. I'm sorry, and that might be my user experience, and you know, some of you may have different experiences with that lens, but for me, for my testing purposes for this video, this lens was not it. As always, guys, thank you so much for watching. I definitely have put in a lot of work into this video, and I hope that you enjoyed it. I hope you got something from it, and I hope it was helpful in any sort of way. So thank you so much for watching. If you love the video, if you can't get enough of me, if you want to see more stuff, go ahead and click that subscribe button so you don't miss any upcoming content that I put out in the next week or so. Thank you so much again, and I'll catch you on the next one. Peace.